Hi there, it's Rachel Fritz, the Food Fairy Godmother. Thank you for tuning in today. I'm going to show you how to make a really delicious and simple kale and seaweed salad with a ginger dressing. This is really tasty and very nutritious. As you probably know, dark leafy greens are so good for your health. Kale is one of my favorites. I like to use for this particular dish the Lacinato kale, which looks like this. You can use any kind. You can use a curly kale, you can use a purple kale, whatever you prefer. Seaweed is really good. It's got tons of trace minerals, and it's especially good for people who have low thyroid issues, which a lot of women have. So add seaweed when you can. Hijiki is a particularly flavorful kind that I like to use in salads. It's pretty expensive when you find it in the health food store, something like $19, $20 for a bag. If you can find it at an Asian grocery store, it's much more affordable. I found this one for $2.35, so really like a tenth of the cost. So this is really good. And this is going to be the first thing that we do actually is we need to soak this so that it, because right now it's dried. So we're just going to pour some in a bowl, about, quarter cup or so. And we're just going to add some cold water and let that soak for about 30 minutes. I'm just going to set that aside while we're dealing with the other ingredients here. So for the dressing, we can move on to that next. We're going to use organic tamari, tamari is a gluten-free soy sauce. Most soy sauces are made with wheat, and I like to get the gluten-free kind just because people have a lot of issues with wheat these days, so I mean, if I can avoid it, I'm gonna avoid it, right? I also really like to get the organic kind because soybeans are typically genetically modified if they're not organic, and I know there's, still research being done on the genetically modified stuff, but I say if we don't really have evidence that it's not bad for us, why put it in our bodies, right? So we're going to use organic tamari. We're going to use toasted sesame oil. You don't really want to cook with the toasted sesame oil because it doesn't have a very high smoke point, which can really add a lot of carcinogens if you're using a oil to cook with that's not meant to cook with. But for use in salad dressings and to add flavor after things are being cooked, toasted sesame oil is delicious. It's got a really rich, nice flavor, and that's going to add a really nice boost to our dressing here. And then I like to use the apple cider vinegar. I particularly like Bragg's because it's raw and unfiltered, which means it has a lot of good, healthy bacteria that our guts really need to digest our food properly. So apple cider vinegar. And of course, we're going to do a really nice chunk of fresh ginger. So first things first, I'm going to move that kale aside. Now, for the fresh ginger, you can peel it, but you don't really have to. So I've rinsed this, it's clean, I don't really care about the skin. So we're going to use a chunk, I'd say about that big, kind of like a golf ball size of ginger. So we're going to take the ginger, put that in the blender. I'm actually going to cut this into just a little bit smaller chunks so that it's easier to blend. So I'm going to toss that in. I'm going to use about a half a cup of apple cider vinegar. I don't really like to measure. That's about good. So you want to use more vinegar and about equal parts of the sesame oil and the soy sauce. So we're going to do about a quarter cup of the sesame oil and also about a quarter cup of the soy sauce. Okay. Now just give me a moment here. I'm going to blend this all up. Whoops, gotta turn it on. That's really good. Now, if you find that it's like super potent, like really spicy, or too tangy, just add more soy sauce or more oil. It's really easy to tweak this recipe to your individual taste. So I'm just going to set this aside for a little bit later. Next, what we're going to do is chop up the kale and get that ready. So as I'm sure you know, kale has these really tough ribs in it, which you want to take the leaves off. So here's my trick for doing that. You can kind of start it by tearing it on both sides a little bit, then take your thumb and forefinger and hold on here and then hold on with your other hand and just pull it away like that. Super easy. Okay, so I've got all my kale here. The ribs have been removed and now I've stacked all of the leaves and I'm just going to chop them really, really fine. Raw kale can be a little bit tough and a little bit bitter for some people. So I find that by chopping it super, super fine, it kind of helps make it a little bit softer and more palatable for people. Okay, so there you have it, really finely chopped kale. Okay, so it's been about a half an hour and the Hijiki is done being soaked. You can tell because it just kind of plumps up a little bit. And I'm just going to go drain this and rinse it real quick. I'll be right back. Okay, so this is all set. We're going to just add the drained and rinsed Hijiki to the kale. Alright, and let's get the dressing here. It kind of settles a little bit when it sits for a few minutes, so just kind of shake it up. Pour some on. I think we're going to have some extra, which is great because then we can keep it in the refrigerator for about a week and it lasts. So you can just mix that up really easily here. Oops. I tend to make a mess in the kitchen when I cook. It smells so good. I don't know about you, but I love fresh ginger. Yeah, I'm losing some more here. Alright, so there we go, and then to top it off, I really love to add some black sesame seeds. These just add a little bit of extra nutrition and good fats, and I just think they look so pretty sprinkled on top. You can use white ones too. White ones actually show up a little bit better with the kale and the Hijiki. So there you go. Enjoy! Thanks for tuning in. See you next time.